Good day, I'm Junior Researcher Adam Southgate, and today's lecture will be covering a deeper dive into the Hunters of Wales. I'd appreciate that all hunters please subscribe as to not miss any future lectures, and also if you enjoy the lecture and find it informative, please like the video and click the bell to ensure you do not miss any future announcements. I would also be very happy to hear your thoughts, views, and stories of your interactions with the monsters of the spheres in the comment area of this video. So to begin, as always, we'll start with our general announcements. Firstly, the Order has created a brand new piece of hunter's gear that we hope will become commonplace in the future. The Bardic Transcriber builds upon Wisp Crystal technology to create a recording device for hunters to replace the traditional after-mission reports. The device links to the hunter using a partial Wisp Crystal, then creates a transcript of the hunter's experiences. Interestingly, it writes these transcripts in the form of a story. We believe that this has something to do with the Fey nature of Wisp Crystals, as Fey tend to think in terms of stories. Now, there is a lot of anomalous components inside the device, making it extremely valuable. Therefore, the Order will be beginning a trial phase to refine the design to hopefully reduce the overall cost of construction before they become widely available. Secondly, the Gwyll Weir observed in Felin-Fach have been successfully dealt with by hunters Rowan Staghorn, Sam Tom 5409, Ninja Grim 1, Coleman Osborne, and Random Jester 9983. The five masked their operation via a fake invite-only clay pigeon shooting event, while also, and rather ingeniously, carving Celtic knots into a large stone where they were set up. The Gwyll Weir, acting with their incredibly simple minds, were drawn to the false knots, most likely frustrating the Fae looking through their eyes, as it would most undoubtedly know that they were fake. This created the perfect setup for the hunters, who were easily able to shoot down the Gwyll Weir en masse, most likely causing the more powerful Fae quite the discomfort. While contracts such as these aren't death-defying battles for the fate of humanity, they are essential overall. It is contracts such as these that prevent the more dangerous threats from amassing power and causing far more destruction down the line. Thirdly, a large group of Pesin Isgleveithur have been terrorizing the larger Powys County in recent weeks. There has been an ongoing open bounty for these aberration entities for some time now, however they've managed to reproduce faster than they can be hunted with this method. Pesin Isgleveithur are highly dangerous entities in large groups and rather formidable alone. While not as armoured as other abomination entities, they make up for it with their speed, endurance and intelligence. Their hunting strategy is particularly diabolical, as one singular individual will sprint up to 60 miles per hour towards their prey. Once in range, they will rake their teeth over the victim as they pass, then running off before the prey can react. This assault will only leave minor superficial wounds, however the saliva left in the wound will change the victim ever so slightly. Specifically, it will force their bodies to emit a pheromone within their sweat that can then be picked up and followed by the greater pack. They will then wait until the victim is alone, attacking together to overwhelm the prey. As I'm sure you can all imagine, this is problematic, and an issue that must be dealt with, as we estimate their numbers to be in the hundreds at this point. While so far they have been exclusively hunting cattle, it is only a matter of time before they spill into more built-up areas and people's lives are at risk. Tackling the Pesin Isgleveithur is somewhat problematic due to their ridiculous speeds. However, the Order has found that by using an animal that has already been marked, it is possible to draw them in. The Order would like a large team of 50 hunters, 20 masters, and 30 journeymen for this specialty contract, as a smaller team would risk being quickly overrun. We also suggest a mix of both melee and ranged weaponry for the encounter. So, we're going to start at the very beginning of a hunter's career, the apprenticeship. As an apprentice to a master, you will have a great many duties to attend to, all of which will lean towards preparing you for the career. These tasks are wide and varied in nature, with each master tailoring them to what they believe their apprentice needs to learn the most. At the very beginning of your apprenticeship, you will most likely spend much of your time learning weapon maintenance, as well as being given access to your master's notes to read through to teach you of the threats you will be facing. Along with this, they will also push their apprentices to practice the use of a wide variety of weapons, almost to the point of nausea, and definitely to the point of blisters. Some masters will even create an exercise regime for their apprentice to build up their physical abilities before they even see an entity. Once a master feels their apprentice is ready, they will begin bringing them along to hunts, though not as a combatant and instead as an observer. During this stage, the masters will typically task their apprentices to carry extra equipment with them, both to aid in the hunt, but also as a form of physical conditioning, with some masters secretly placing bricks in the bottoms of the packs. Once a master feels their apprentice has progressed far enough, they will begin actively including them into the hunts, though under strict supervision, with the apprentices gaining leeway as time passes and the master feels more confident in their abilities. This teacher-student relationship will continue until the master feels as though their apprentice has learned and improved enough to survive on their own, where the master will bestow the rank of journeyman to their apprentice. As new journeyman hunters, you hold the reputation of your masters upon your shoulders. Everything you do at this rank reflects on your master's worthiness to hold their title, with, in extreme circumstances, masters losing their rank due to a journeyman they taught, causing the deaths of civilians or other hunters due to negligence. As newly promoted journeymen, most will continue the training their masters started, though now with time dedicated to studying the Order's archives. At this early delicate stage, journeymen will group together, taking on standard contracts, with the most senior journeyman taking the lead. This is both to begin earning an income, but also to gain further practical experience from those older than them. This grouping also allows new journeymen to gain confidence in their own abilities while minimizing the danger. Most journeymen will spend the first half of this stage of their careers building up their arsenal of both weapons and knowledge, taking on progressively more difficult contracts as they learn. As time passes, the more senior journeymen ahead of you will leave your group to begin hunting alone or in pairs, until you eventually become the leader of your particular group. As the new group leader, it will be your responsibility to pick out the contracts your team undertakes, along with planning the operation and dividing the reward between you all. This experience is important to prepare you for your eventual role as a master, as you will need to account for every member of your group's individual abilities while also pushing them to improve. Once you feel ready to take on bounties alone, you will leave the group behind you with the next in line now in charge. This can be very difficult to push yourself to do, as you will have grown close to every member of your team. However, it is the only way to further yours and their careers. As a solo journeyman hunter, your first instinct may be to take on more challenging bounties. However, this is a trap of overconfidence. Your first goal is to learn how to hunt alone by taking on simple bounties that will give you good experience while not putting yourself in too much danger. As your confidence grows, you will eventually start taking on contracts that you wouldn't have attempted with your entire team due to the danger, as all your training becomes second nature to you. Again, at this stage your biggest enemy is overconfidence. Too many journeyman hunters attempt to rush a masterwork and end up dying or worse. The most important thing to remember is patience and preparation. Once a journeyman feels truly ready, they will take on their masterwork. There is no fixed definition for which entities are considered a masterwork, however, they are typically entities that could at least depopulate a town. These bounties are the same ones taken on by masters due to the danger the entities pose, and will push the journeyman to the very limits of their abilities. For instance, a recent masterwork was completed in where the hunter was able to take down several recyclers that were attempting to harvest a family living in a rural home. However, another hunter completed their masterwork by tracking down and capturing a Path of Life necromancer. While the first faced far more danger than the second showed excellent investigation abilities, earning them the rank of master also. Once you have completed a contract that you believe is suitable to be a masterwork, you may approach 3 masters to evaluate whether or not you deserve the title. Due to the obvious conflict of interest, your master is not allowed to judge your masterwork. Depending on the masters, they can take hours to days deliberating on whether or not you have earned the rank of master. However, unlike how the name masterwork implies, they do not just judge the contract in question. They will pore through all reports of each contract you have been a part of, judging your abilities and decision-making skills up to this point, eventually arriving at a conclusion. The rank of master is the one where you will face the most danger, but also gain the highest rewards. Interestingly, master hunters actually take on contracts less than other ranks, however the dangers they face is very extreme. Along with this danger though comes higher payments, with many masters only taking on 3 or 4 contracts per year that provide enough for them to both support themselves and save for the future. Masters are not typically idle, however, when not hunting, with many researching, creating new weapons, and teaching. Most masters will eventually take on an apprentice of their own. The duty and responsibility that this role entails weighs heavy, but is vital to the continuation of the hunter's tradition. But before they take on an apprentice, they will usually spend at least a decade taking on master level bounties. Master level bounties, as the name implies, are bounties that can only be taken on by a master. The entities within these contracts have a high-level destruction potential, or are very proficient at killing humans. Masters, with their well-earned knowledge, are able to exploit certain aspects of their nature to their advantage, bringing down entities that would otherwise require a great many more hunters. At a certain point, a master will, as their body begins to more noticeably slow, decide to take on an apprentice. Typically, this is not a conscious choice. Instead, as they age, they will be more open to the opportunity of teaching an apprentice. When asked, many masters will respond to why they took on an apprentice with "it's what masters do." However, if pushed enough, some will admit that in some way they wish to be remembered by someone for who they truly were. Despite direct family, only those associated with the Order are aware of the actions of hunters, and at a certain age, this begins to weigh heavily upon those who risk their lives so often. As stated, they wouldn't easily openly admit to this want, as most, if not all, hunters who reach this stage in their career have been hardened over the years of horror they have had to face. Apart from the rankings of apprentice, journeyman, and master, there is also the collection of Earth. The Earth are groups of hunters who tend to specialize in hunting entities from a certain sphere, though can be as specific as hunting one type of entity. The 5 largest Earth are Clethin y Thraig, who specialize in hunting Fae, Helva Wilt, who specialize in hunting abominations, y Cloddwyr Beddwai, who specialize in hunting entropic entities, the Broken Thoughts, who specialize in hunting eldritch entities, and y Thrydd, who specialize in hunting entities of the Abrahamic sphere. Around 60% of hunters belong to an Earth of some kind, with the other 40% being more generalists in what they choose to hunt. However, even those within an Earth will at times hunt other entities outside of their Earth specialization. They are simply far more equipped to tackle entities that they have specialized to take down. Typically, around 80% of the hunts a member of an Earth will go on will be against entities that they have specialized in, but the other 20% will be against entities of other spheres, with the last 20% being considered by most Earth as very important, as it gives the hunter experience and techniques that could be used against their specialty sphere. The benefit of joining an Earth is financial support during your early career, along with specialty training. However, you are also expected to offer the same to others once you are established and earning enough for yourself. I hope this has given you a fair idea of your career trajectory as hunters. I understand that when at the rank of apprentice, it can appear like an insurmountable climb. However, you must always remember those that came before. They each faced the same difficulties and dangers you face today, and pulled through. You are just as capable of doing the same. The work of a hunter is never easy and never truly over. You hold the line for the rest of humanity, giving them the breathing room they need to live safe and contented lives. The role of a hunter is to sacrifice in service to your fellow man, and the weight of that responsibility is heavy indeed. However, you do not stand alone. Beside you are those who shoulder the burden with you, not just in Wales, but around the world. We shield the delicate candle flame that is humanity with our bodies and souls, so that the majority can sleep soundly. But that will be all for today, with Arthur's might and Merlin's wisdom. Thank you.